Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome to episode 3 of UnitedWeTech, our monthly chat interview series from the data platform Women in Tech group. This month, we have with us Kristyna Hughes, who's a Power BI consultant. We are very excited to have her on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Now, I'll let the panelists introduce themselves, and we'll take it from there.
Cool.
So before we get started, just a quick announcement. Please go out and sign up for our Mental Wellness Day, April 8th, on our meetup group. Be sure to sign up for our newsletter at www.dataplatformwit.com. And we are really excited to talk to Kristyna.
Excited to be here. So I'll just do a quick little intro.
Yep.
Go ahead. Introduce yourself.
So like Mala said, I'm Kristyna. I work over at 3Cloud, actually with Leslie. So I've been working there since I think August of this past year. So it's been an absolute blast switching from working at an enterprise level to working in a consulting capacity. Really enjoyed that. I've been doing Power BI since about 2017. So not since its inception, but pretty close, and kind of fell in love with it and have expanded it into different realms of learning a little bit of C#, a little bit of SQL. Yeah, so that's pretty much where my expertise is. I also co-run a blog with my dad, actually, Data on Wheels, so feel free to check us out. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
So one of the coolest things that Kristyna did was like hack into the Power BI column names, right? Like dynamically creating column names. So I've always wanted to know, what business problem were you trying to solve that was the solution for?
Interesting.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. So they have an ISV model, which basically means they're a company that has a bunch of sub companies that contract them for different pieces of information. So every company that works with them has their own database, has their own custom fields that they want to report on, and has their own custom hierarchies for different things like their locations. So like location 1 in one company might be a country, and in another country it might be continent, or it might be a region. So to account for that, we need something where the report developers don't have to go into every single customer copy of a PBIX file and change the name, because they've got about 400 customers currently, and they're looking to expand to the thousands, and they have 2 report developers. So that would be their entire job, would be going through and renaming these things.
So basically creating a copy of a report and then customizing it for each new client feed that comes in. Okay.
Not only that, but customers can add and delete columns on the fly.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that doesn't cause any issues with your data load at all.
No, never. Not anymore.
Oh.
So one of the ways that I love what they've built, right? So the idea was to have a custom set of reports based off of one singular data model so that you can align things apples to apples. And then on top of that, they're giving certain users permissions to edit those reports. Not the data model, just the report, or to make their own. So now you have to account for the fact that people are going to want to go in. So you need to give them the names of the fields they're looking for. You have to make sure that when you have visuals that are in the standard set, it renames to what they're expecting to see, so they understand
based off of their
user-defined fields.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the business problem. Thankfully, because they've only got one data model that they're operating off of, it was actually pretty fun to figure out how we were going to deploy it. So I've been working really closely with their app developers, and we've got a function using the REST APIs that essentially can push and create Power BI workspaces per customer. And then
these are the Power BI APIs, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. So the Power BI REST APIs, there's some of them that will let you create workspaces. There are some that will let you reattach reports to data sets. And then there are some that'll let you swap out the parameters for those data sets. So that's how we get around like the different servers and databases and permissionings is all handled through those APIs. The fun thing is the column adds and deletes. So Power BI operates off of something similar to analysis services. It's pretty much the same backend code. So anyone who's lived and breathed in analysis services secretly knows a lot more about Power BI than they probably realize. So things
That's
like the
interesting.
tabular, yeah,
I didn't
It
know
is.
that.
Yeah.
and paginated reports, I don't know if you have much familiarity with those, is based off SSRS. So if you know those code
That I knew.
stacks,
That I knew.
yeah,
Yeah.
that one's a little more obvious. They didn't quite, they
Yeah.
didn't give it a whole new front end GUI, you know. That one's a little bit more obvious, but no, Power BI is all based off analysis services. So there's a concept in analysis services and in Power BI called the TOM, the tabular object model. And so
Okay.
Yeah.
that's, yeah, it's pretty integral to everything the Power BI does. You know, you've got your model, in that you've got your data set, you've got your tables, you've got your columns, you've got your hierarchies, so on and so forth. And so what you can do is in C#, if you've got the right Microsoft packages, you can access different points within that tabular object model using the XMLA endpoint. Now, I've written a couple blogs, I've done a couple webinars on it and presented it a few times. The big caveats to know are that you need Power BI Premium to do it, or a Premium enabled workspace. So you could just have Premium per user, because otherwise you can't get the XML endpoint. And then there are a couple of NuGet packages as well, but those are all free. Premium is really the biggest barrier to entry for this one. But if you're doing something at this level where you need that kind of scalability, you already need Premium.
Right.
So that's not even a question at that point.
Right.
So pretty cool stuff, but you can basically hack into it per customer instance in those workspaces and tell it, hey, I'm actually going to update this SQL view in the background to contain these new user-defined fields. Can you take that new view and add or delete columns in the Power BI schema based on what's in that view? So that's kind of the synopsis of what it's doing. There's separate tables in SQL that'll tell it what to rename those fields to as well. So when it plugs
Like
and
a
pulls it all
mapping.
in. Exactly. So it's pretty neat. I will say
It's
this
super
customer was
cool.
kind of built for it, right? They knew in advance they were going to want to do some kind of mapping to that. So we didn't have to do a whole lot of dev work on that side of it, just mostly on how to implement it in Power BI. And it was a big reason that we got them to switch from Click to Power BI. Click couldn't do any of this. So,
Nice.
Fun
I'm
stuff.
currently working on a Click to Power BI conversion.
If you need help reading LDS files, let me know.
I'm not having to look at that, but
On
it's
the
a
same
horrible project.
lines of what Leslie was saying, what makes Power BI better than other platforms like Click, for example?
So many things. No, could fill books. And maybe it's just my bias, right? I've worked with Power BI a lot longer than I've worked with anything else, but every time I've gone in and trained a team on Power BI, teams that have been familiar with Tableau, teams that were familiar with Click for years, they pick up Power BI in a couple of weeks. Not only that, but Power BI's data modeling, I think really sets it apart. Click and Tableau, you don't get nearly as much flexibility in that data modeling process or visibility. So when we were building all of our reports off the data model in Click, we actually fixed some of their data quality issues because Click was forcing inner joins. In Power BI, we can have one directional filters that don't force those inner joins.
Right.
Oh, great. Yeah. Yeah, you can write the query pretty much yourself as opposed to the system building it.
In Click, you can build these different queries, but they don't really tell you how how that model gets built in the back. And not only that, but the refresh times. Oh, they're just brutal with Click.
I think though, based on I worked at one place that used a lot of Tableau. Most of the users, they were not SQL people. So I think there is a place for that. So they didn't know how to write joins or anything. They just knew they wanted this report and this data, and they were happy that that thing built it on the back end for them. Although, whenever they had a problem, like when it would run very long or something, they would come to us and say, can you look at the query, it's running. But the average user didn't and was not a SQL person to know all that.
And they don't really have to be great data persons either.
Right,
I have Cole Knafik in one of her books on data. She says something like, anybody can build a bar chart out of, some data now. And at the same time, it's a really bad thing that just anyone can build a bar chart out of data. It used to be that, if you'd gotten to the point you were drawing a chart by hand, right, and line, those people, they got their data right because they knew that they were spending all of this time to write it down and calculate it by hand. And now you just, throw a chart out there and boom, you're done. And nobody ever really looks to see, is it right?
Well, and that's where Power BI, I think you can even separate those roles out, right? Like, let's say, well, this actually customer is a great example. Let's say you have a marketing team and they want to put together a bunch of reports and you're like, well, I can't just give you SQL tables. To your point, like, Molly, you're not going to know. Like, you're not a SQL person. I don't have time to train you on SQL. I can't tell you how it all interacts. What I can do in Power BI, though, is make certified data sets and give you a blank report that connects to that data set. So I know what data you're using, and I know that it's all right.
Yep.
And if you manipulate it from there where it becomes wrong, I will have ample evidence that you have done something to the data to misconstrue it, right? It will never be wrong. It'll just be labeled incorrectly. It'll be called the wrong thing. It'll be used in the wrong way to draw the wrong conclusions, right? But at that point, that's on them. They were going to do that anyway.
I was in a meeting recently, and the process that I'm doing right now is it's a database sync. And it's basically go get a copy of every table and move it over here. And there's like maybe 25 incremental tables that I'm just doing like incremental loads for. But I have a process at the end of it where I validate that every piece of data matches in every table. It's a picture. It's an exact picture. And this woman on the call with me, she was like, well, don't take this wrong, but everybody says the data matches and it never matches. And I was like, I'm sorry that you've had that experience in the past, but I'm telling you, I will guarantee you that when I am done with my piece of it, it is an exact match from what it was. It can't be anything else. I'm sorry. And I got kind of snooty with her because I'm telling you, it matches. It may
I
not
would
match
encourage them to
after
screen share
the
with me
next
while I'm
step.
doing it.
I know. It may not match after the next step, but that's not my problem.
Right.
I only guarantee it matches up to this point right here. And if you would like, the next time I do a sync, I will show you my process for validating it. And then you can tell me that, it doesn't match or there's some problem or whatever. But no, I'm not going to let you sit here and say, you've had bad experiences then, because
You may not have been working with what we call a professional.
right. You're working with those people that don't know SQL.
Yeah. What kills me about report development is a lot of people think it's very easy.
Yes.
And so they think they should be able to do it without us, which I encourage.
There was a time back in my time when I started that if you were a female DBA, most people thought that you were a report writer masquerading as a DBA. Very sexist. But they usually thought women were the ones who did, the easy stuff like report writing.
Easy stuff. Have you seen some of the stuff that I
Yeah.
won't go too far into it, but I've had reports given to me because the person who made them was a male DBA who was only thinking about making table upon table upon table upon table. And I was like, if I was looking at this as an account rep, this tells me nothing. I could get this from the website. I don't need you. Like, you're gone. And he ended up being fired because he thought he could do the report design. And that's just not, it's funny how acclaimed UX designers are and how not acclaimed report designers are.
Right.
In my mind, those are very similar skill sets.
Yeah. Very much so. I agree.
If done well, I should say.
Right. With
Same
correct
with UX.
data.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clean, correct data. Gotta have
Well,
that
and
too.
I'll tell you this, nobody will believe your data if it doesn't look pretty. It needs to look good. I mean, you have, I can't remember the stat, but I was reading a bunch of stuff at one point when I had free time about UI design and report building and the psychology of it.
Mhm.
And a lot of it was saying, you know what, if it doesn't look good, people won't believe it. It doesn't matter if it's wrong, they won't believe it. So you have to make it look good too.
Yeah, you have to give it a slick professional appearance, that's for sure. But
Yeah.
on the other hand, you can give a lot of things a very professional appearance and have it be totally false. That is
Oh
that
yeah.
too. Yeah.
That's how you get fired, right? Like you get hired for your UI, you get to keep the job because of your data quality. But there's, you know,
Yeah.
you
Don't
need
want to
both.
get fired.
When I value my data quality way too highly to sacrifice it. But to that point, if I end up giving you a bunch of donut charts, my data quality means nothing because you can't tell what any of it means anyway. So
I saw this great pie chart visualization the other day that had like 3 or 4 different pie charts on it, with each pie had 5 different things, and they were all within like 4 or 5% of each other. And they all look exactly the same, even though the percentages are different. Our eyes just aren't equipped to be able to differentiate between those small differences in a pie chart with 5 things when each of them are right about 20%. Whereas when you really look at them at a bar chart or the values, right, one of those things is 18 and one of them is 23. I mean, that's 5% difference. That's pretty significant, but you can't see that with your eyes in the pie chart.
Yeah.
I only use pie charts. This is like if someone's desperate to put a pie chart in, you know, my recommendation is always maximum 3 items, and you should use it as a pseudo filter where people can click on it and it'll reorient the report for that thing, right? Like I think
Right.
something like invoiced or not invoiced. Okay, works for me. I can see at a glance what percentage I'm leaning toward.
Right.
But like,
yeah, see,
like
for me,
you
it's
said,
2 things. It's usually a pretty binary thing if I'm going to use a pie chart. So
yeah, one is
I love the one where it's got pie eaten, pie not eaten. Those are the 2 things that you should see in a pie chart.
I love that. Mine would just be all pie eaten. But
all the pie was eaten. There is no pie left.
oh no.
So what's the one feature of Power BI that you'd like to change if you could?
Top N plus others. I will harp on it all day. It's the one thing Click has and Tableau has that Power BI doesn't have, that I know about, at least.
Mm.
So
If
it's,
you want to
tell me
do
again, top N plus other.
so, like, let's say for example you have a chart and it's your top 10, I don't know, top 10 locations, top 10 warehouses. There's no way to add in others so you can see what portion of the whole those top 10 are.
Okay.
Mm.
And it sounds insane, but there is a workaround for it. But I think you have to add in like 3 different DAX calculated tables to do it.
Mm.
And that's per visual that you need that other category for.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just
because you basically
it should be a
have to,
click box.
right, you basically have to figure out what the whole is, what the other is, and what your top 10 is, so that then you can basically shmoo all that together into a single visualization that shows top 10 and other and the percentages of each.
And even then it's not dynamic, right? Like what happens if I click a filter on the page? Your performance is either in the dumps or that visual doesn't work. There's only 2 options there. So I wish it was as easy as adding a little checkbox that said others. And I think that's how it should look. That is the one feature I would love to see as a primarily, well, these days I don't really design reports, but when I was designing reports, that was something I really wished I could have had. And a Pareto chart.
So my grouse is that they don't have a decent plugin for graph data yet.
Mm,
You use a lot of graph data, Mala?
I've messed with it on my own. I just like it. It's for some
Okay.
weird reason I like it. So I played with it a lot, but not having a visualization, especially after they have graph tables in SQL Server, it's kind of sad. Without the visualization, it's a lost cause. I don't think they can go very far with anything graph without that.
yeah, fair.
Yeah. But the kind of stuff they have, it's really bad. Even for a big org chart, it doesn't work well. Or like a really simple graph. If you have a company with a really big org chart, there's no way Power BI is displaying that very well.
No. Honestly, that kind of thing should be
Yeah.
a drill down kind of value,
Right.
right? Like you start at this level, you want to go to the next one.
Right,
Okay,
right.
let's go level by level.
Yeah.
Yeah. Power BI is really good for data visualization, but data visualization that could fit on one page of paper. That's how I
Right.
think about it. You know,
Right.
if it has to go to more pages of paper, you're either looking at a different tool or you got to drill down into it.
Right.
If you're not doing Power BI stuff now, what are you working on?
Well, I am working on Power BI stuff, but not report design. So
Okay.
especially with this client, it has been a lot of SQL and a lot of data modeling, and a little C#, which is fun. So I had to learn that for this project, and it's been a blast. But I think the fun thing about data modeling with this customer, at least, because I don't usually get this kind of free reign, even when I was working not as a consultant, like at a company full time, nobody lets you just go in and say, all right, we know our data model is slow and gross. Can you make it run faster and better? And you get free reign over the views. I was like, really? I get free reign over all these views? So took that and ran. So everything that they had in Click basically broke it down into facts and dimensions, made it a true star schema. Their refreshes only take 6 minutes now instead of 3 hours. You know, it's things like that that really get me going, and I really like doing that. But it's very complicated, this data model. So they're using, and I'm going to have a blog post coming out soon on how to do this, but they're also using rollable security to filter their dimensions to a locale. So they've got these things like device color is a good example, and they'll have green, English, verde, Spanish. I don't know any other languages, but that one, you know, and you can filter it down because it's an embedded instance. And so we can have the embedded token or the generated embedded token pass back not only what user is logged in, but what locale they're logged in from. And then that will generate something that filters that table down to whatever locale they're in.
Okay.
So they'll see all of their green device models, or if they're in Spain, Mexico, they can see all the Verde devices in the same type of list. Pretty cool.
It's kind of like an on-the-fly translation based on your location for what you're looking at. That's super cool.
Exactly. Yeah. And
So
that's
what is your blog?
Oh yeah, dataonwheels.com. So my dad actually started it probably like 10 years
ago. So her
ago.
dad, just so everybody knows, is Steve Hughes. He's also works at 3Cloud. He was formerly with Pragmatic Works. He wrote a whole bunch of books on SSAS and
whoa, interesting.
Yes,
cool.
and
I might have heard of him. Yeah.
Yes, he's a huge ally of women in tech, and has done a great job mentoring and getting Kristyna ready to take on the world. So
how cool is that?
Yeah, so her dad started the blog.
Yeah, he started that, and he started the PassMN group. He was part of that first group as well. So it's been kind of fun because I've been on the board with them this year and get to work at 3Cloud. I told them I'd never work for him. Just, you know, one of those things, women in tech, you don't really want the nepotism flag on top of that. So when Pragmatic Works merged with 3Cloud, it got big enough where there was an opportunity for me to join, and Leslie was great at getting me hooked up with the right people and really dragging me in to the fold. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have exciting news. My niece is going to be starting in the Green Beans program. We have a college recruitment program, Mala, where they come in and for like a year get to work and learn and be part of a cohort. So she starts June 6th. So I brought somebody else into the fold too. I'm so excited.
Oh, very good. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Well, and I should tell you, I actually interned with Pragmatic Works back in 2017, and that was my intro to Power BI.
Mm.
So
Nice.
it definitely makes a big difference to get in early and see if it's something you like.
I'm sure, yeah.
And I think especially right now, there are so many opportunities in tech, right? So we've got one of the lowest unemployment rates, even in this low unemployment rate period, and lots of people that are looking to do other things, right? So I have a friend, she's a radiologist, and she's been doing, you know, CAT scans and MRIs and x-rays and all that kind of stuff. And oh, we're going to get you a supervisor position, and it always falls through, and there's never any budget. And so she was like, well, maybe I'll go back to get my master's. I'm like, ooh, why don't you spend like $250 and do this, you know, Power BI certification and come in with your medical knowledge paired up with a tech cert. And I mean, that's way less time, way less money. You still get an opportunity in, especially if you know somebody at a hospital where you're working, right? You can go in and say, hey, I really want to transition into this. Do you have any, you know, work that I could practice on or what? I mean, just the opportunities are endless if you have real world experience, because yours is in logistics, right? Because you worked for a trucking company.
I was just about to say I did the exact same thing. I found Pragmatic Works had this really great training. So I kept up with that during every lunch break. I was doing Power BI video training, and then got the opportunity to be given my hands on a lot of data for my specific region of the US that I was booking trucks for, and ended up doing a presentation for my boss on why I should be given more work because I was more efficient than my coworkers. And she passed that up to the manager of that branch, who then was like, we actually need you on our analytics team. So that's how I ended up getting into analytics.
Absolutely. There are many ways to get here, and not all of them require.
What's your advice for young people, especially young women who want to do the same thing?
Oh, yeah. Take the initiative. So if you have your hands on one Excel file a week where someone is giving that to you in any shape or form, I used to get emailed all of our bookings for the day, and I would start saving them and put them in a Power BI file and just started messing around with the data. And if you can ask questions of data, you can get an analytics job. So if you can look at a spreadsheet and you can say, hey, I want to know who the top performers are. I want to know where I fall compared to my coworkers. I want to know X, Y, Z. Or if you put your head thinking cap on, you know, I want to know what my boss would want to know. My boss would probably want to know if I'm worth the money she's paying me. Let me show her how much revenue I'm generating. Those types of things, if you can make a report off of it in a tool like Power BI, you're golden. Just if you do it and you get no response, you need a new boss.
Now, I would also say that in that same vein, maybe you're not into analytics, but you get this spreadsheet every week and you automate how you import it, right?
Yeah.
If your thing is automation, because I'm all about, man, if I have to do something once, twice, I'm going to script it. I don't want to do it manually. I'm going to build an SSIS package or a pipeline or, you know, some process that scrapes my emails to get all those attachments out and put those in a file somewhere, because I don't want to do that work. And I think that if we, within our team, right, wherever we work, go, what can I do to help our team be more efficient by automating something, right? That's a great path to an engineering type, you know, automation and, you know, process flow. There's just so much in tech that you don't have to really be, we like our last interview series, right? Don't be technical, do technical. It's all about doing technical things. And I think that that's really how you get noticed and you get those opportunities and, you know, take the initiative and show people how great you are. And again, if they don't notice that you're great, go find a place that thinks you are.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, it should bug you. Whatever it is you're passionate about is probably what annoys you the most about your current job. That's the best way I can think to put it, right? If you're annoyed with all those emails that you have to put into folders every day,
Yep.
That's
It
a good
annoys
clue.
you, it annoys everybody else.
it's a good clue for something that needs help. Yeah. Some people I know who are great managers have had the worst managers of their lives. And it was because of that they wanted to go into management. It's the same with IT. You know, there's something there for everyone, but I would say that it does help a lot to have a passion for it. Because 9 times out of 10, people aren't going to pay you for a job that you don't have yet. But if you want that job, you need to do the work for a job you don't have yet.
Very true. Very true. So do you plan to speak? Are you into speaking by any chance? Are you planning?
I am. I've spoken actually earlier this week. I got to speak at the Minnesota Microsoft user group. And then I'm hoping I submitted a couple topics to pass. So I'm hoping maybe I can
yay.
get in there. We'll see.
That would be exciting. We
I
both
figure
submitted too.
it's fun, isn't it? I just
It is.
I'm hopeful.
Yeah.
I know we've got some internal things at 3Cloud where people are starting to talk about different webinar series and stuff, and I'd love to do more of those. I personally, I love speaking, and I love blog writing. It just consolidates all the knowledge that I've gotten and helps me think about things in a different way. Especially when people ask questions, it's like, oh, I never even thought about that. You know?
Well, we'll make sure people on the Power BI team hear this.
One more time? Sorry.
I said we'll make sure people on the Power BI team listen to this, or at least make sure they know about it. Adam, Saxton, and Pat, and all of them.
Oh, I would love that. They came
Blank
and spoke at our internal at 3Cloud for one of our community events, and it was awesome. You know, getting to ask them questions.
They're both fantastic. They're great there.
I try not to bug people like that too much. I'm like, oh, they're so famous, and I'm like, I'm trying to give myself like 1 year to settle into the industry.
You have plenty of time ahead.
Yeah, what's what I figure? I was like, you know, if I give myself 1 year to be chill and like understand the rules of the game, then next year I'll go hard and heavy and kind of make sure I get into those. Because I would have loved to go to SQL Bits, you know.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I was moving, so I couldn't do that.
Well, you can go next year.
I could only afford 1 European, and so I had to date a Grillin. So I'm super excited about that.
Yeah.
I bought a house instead.
Some time before I travel, maybe next year.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, I've been going for a long, long time. This is actually since the pandemic started, and after past close, it's the first time I never went for an in-person event in 23 years.
Wow. It kind of shook everything, didn't it? I mean,
right, it did. Yeah. Let's hope we're limping back to normal. Fingers crossed.
I hope so.
A lot of people got sick, by the way, at BIDS, so I'm not too resentful that I couldn't go. I did speak at the event, but I didn't want to go because I didn't think it was safe enough. And so sure enough, a lot of people got sick.
A lot of people got COVID.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mask up, wave, hi, no hug.
Right. What do you like to do for fun?
I actually am into wood carving and wood burning. So I try to keep my hobbies pretty anti-tech, which sounds backwards, but I stare at a screen all day long and I need to keep grounded a little bit.
Right.
There's people that like go home and build networks, and I'm like, no, I shut my computer off at 4:30, 5 o'clock, and walk out of my office, and I don't look at another one again.
Right. I will say sometimes I get really into projects, and I'll work till like 1 or 2 a.m. and I'll just be like, oh my word, I need to sleep. Like, you have to log in tomorrow, like call it a night. But so like I love what I do, but I also need those hobbies that make me go, oh, it's 5 o'clock. Maybe I can log off for the day. So, but yeah, no, I love it. I I think I have a box around here somewhere. I should have just pulled it out before this call. But I have these little
Like
bears
little
I've been
cord
carving.
ornaments and Christmas ornaments that she burned, and those are super cute.
It was a really good, I mean, it was so much fun. I do everything by hand. So some people do kind of
the laser.
the laser burning,
Yeah.
which is fine. But for me, that kind of takes the fun out. Like the whole purpose I love doing it is it kind of lets me be a little artistic and trying to freehand draw stuff. Like the Vikings logo was something that I was like, wow, I never would have drawn this, except I ended up offering to make them for people for like $5, and that covered my entire, like the sales I did covered my entire wood burning machine, all of the materials, and my wood carving knives. So it's pretty nice to have a self-sustaining
cool.
hobby.
Yes.
I didn't make any actual
I
money
like
off of
to
it,
sew,
but
in fact.
it was
I
nice.
like to do that too. Totally off the computer.
Yeah,
Nothing related.
exactly. Well, like last year I did like a wood burn map of Lord of the Rings, and that was pretty nice. So I'm
That
excited.
sounds cool. You gonna hang that up at your house?
Yes. Sometime. My parents are gonna be moving in with me for like a week.
Oh,
while they wait for their house to finish. So, or to be empty.
Close, right?
So I'm trying not to put too much stuff on the walls, other than like I need to install curtains. They might want those in the bedroom for some reason.
Yeah, I get that.
Shower curtain rods might be important.
Maybe a bed, a guest bed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of those got delivered today. I have to haul that upstairs somehow.
Did you get like one of the Casper beds that you unpack and it expands?
Oh yeah. Yeah, there was no way I was gonna drag 2 queen mattresses up the stairs, you know?
Oh, see, stairs are hard.
They're nice though. I like having 3 floors, you know? And like because it's like a brand new house, I have to remind myself like it's okay if you scrape the paint off a wall, like you have the spare paint in the garage. It's gonna be okay.
You can go touch it up a little bit.
You know how to paint, you know? It's like, okay, all right. Take some deep breaths. Houses are made to be lived in.
Yes.
Well, congratulations on buying a house. That's
Thank you.
It's a big deal.
Yes, it is.
It's my dream.
In today's market, it's a huge deal.
Yeah. Well,
I hope you're not
Minnesota
getting ripped off on the price, by the way.
No, I was going to on the other one, and that's why the appraisal failed. So I'm happy. I'm glad I have the appraisal process to kind of keep my budget in check.
Right.
Because Kentucky is a lot cheaper than Minnesota.
Kentucky is the cheapest. Literally the cheapest. The housing doesn't get better than Kentucky. I lived in a condo that was 1,800 square feet, like a pretty huge one, and I paid $300 by way of mortgage. Like $300, including taxes and everything, for 8 years.
Wow.
I know. I can't beat that anywhere, and it's not like out in the boonies or anything. Louisville's a decent town.
And that's what I like about Frankfurt, and like, you know, being close to Louisville and Lexington too, is like, you know, there's not a lack of stores. You know, I'm not dealing with one of those like sanitation tank. You know, I've got city sewage, I've got fiber internet. You know, it's like I don't think I could handle this. Lakeside living and enjoy it for a while.
Green rolling hills and a lake, and I mean, way better than snow and cold.
Yeah, I love snow. Don't get me wrong. I love snow. I've got a special place in my heart for it, but not into May.
No.
That's not.
No, it's still cold. It's still cold here. I mean, the heater is still turning on and off in the morning, annoying, and I want it to be over with, like, go away. Like, you've had your turn, go away. It's still around though. It's still around. Today's still gray.
Yeah, it's pretty gray here too, but it's 70 degrees.
Well, I super hope you get selected to speak at PASS. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and I put in my full, so I've spoken on pieces of the stuff I've done with COM and C#, and so I put in everything. So I'm hoping that they see the scope of the work and are like, yes, we want this whole presentation.
Right, beginning to end.
Yeah. So we'll see, fingers crossed, but I would love to speak at something like that. It'd be so fun. I've spoken before, like co-presented, but I don't think that really counts.
Oh, it does count. But even so, the in-person experience of Summit, I mean, even though it'll be a different major sponsor and you know, I'm sure some stuff, Seattle is just, I mean, I was so disappointed when it moved to Houston, because it's been in like all 3 years that I went, it was in Seattle. And I was like, well, for me, you know, that's where it happens. And who wants to go to Houston? Houston's kind of, I mean, there's not
so much that if I visit Seattle for any other reason, I went for a couple of times, I get so weirded out, especially downtown. You're not there for the summit, but all those places are there staring
all
at
the
you.
places are there.
That's where we hang out. I once went with family, like I took my dad and my sister once, and we went like, they're like, what is come over? Why are you looking at all those places like that? And it's like, here is where we used to go. And
This is where we do this, and this is where karaoke is.
Really, really weird when you go there without the summit. It is really weird because that bonding is so tight.
Yep. And I mean, the people that I met from that first one, I mean, it's changed my life. Seriously, the past summit changed my life. So
yes.
Hopefully you'll get to go there too, and it will change your life.
Right.
I'm hoping. I think it would be awesome. I mean, I don't really want, like, obviously I just put in for one of those like kind of lower ones, but I definitely set in person because I think it would be fun.
Yep.
So.
All right. Anything else? Anything else you want to say to
Shares?
our audience? Are we done?
What?
Anything else
you want to share with the audience, with us?
I think IT is great, and I think that it offers a lot of freedoms, even especially to women who want to advance their careers and their paychecks without sacrificing who they are and their creativity.
Thank you. All right.
Well, thanks so much for joining us, and
Same
we
here.
hope everybody enjoyed the video, and we will see you all next month with, who do we have next month, Amala? Do you know?
I have to look up the sheet. I don't know off the top of my head. Oh, Jules.
I'll come back.
Jules.
Oh yeah, Jules.
Yes,
Jules is
yes.
going to talk us. Yes.
Yes.
SQL Pie. Yeah.
Yes.
So go check out SQL Pie if you want to see our next, who's coming up next.
Yep.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Kristyna, for your time, and enjoy Kentucky.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.